Hi again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. Happy Sunday, I hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far and thank you so much for joining me here today. So today we are building in Willow Creek. We are building on a lot that I built in not too long ago actually. I will link the last time I built in this lot just up in the right hand corner for you all if you want to check that one out. We are building a family house which I believe would be perfect for the 100 baby challenge. This house has 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, it has a playroom, it has a huge back garden, it has a garage, full of activities. It's just perfect. I specifically built this house for the 100 baby challenge, so if you are currently playing that challenge, may I highly recommend my own house without sounding too big-headed. But currently we are working on the exterior here. Now I actually attempted this exterior around 3 times, I believe. I tried it on Wednesday night, again on Thursday night, and then on Friday evening I finally settled on an exterior that I was actually relatively happy with, and I just built on that. I will pop on screen for you now a reference image. I believe I found this on Google Images. I might be wrong, I might have found it on Pinterest, but I'm 99% sure I found it on Google Images, this particular one. But I took some creative liberties with the... I don't know how to explain it because I definitely used it as inspiration. I definitely used the same colour scheme as well, and obviously just put my own sort of zest if that even makes sense on the build. But I'm really happy with this. The interior is so fun, and may I just point out and say that it's not overly cluttered, so it's very gameplay friendly. Obviously with the 100 baby challenge you have up to 8 Sims in a house, so I understand that for those of you who play with like lower end to mid end computers, like the builds that sometimes that builders put out there, and I'm one of them, like the overly cluttered ones, I can understand that your PCs might struggle with that. So with this particular house I definitely turned it back with the amount of clutter, so you will see that when we get onto the interior. I hope that that's okay. I think with my last house I went over the top with the clutter, so it was really nice to sort of dial that back and create something a little bit more simplistic. But yes, the exterior structure is coming together already. As you can see, we have pretty much settled on a colour scheme, although we do end up changing the brickwork, which I believe is from Discover University. Please correct me if I'm wrong, for the slightly lighter tone, just because this was looking a little bit too harsh for me. But we end up changing that for the slightly lighter tone, which I believe works a little bit better with the current colour scheme that we've got going on right now. But we also have a garage as well, an exterior garage, like a completely separate entity to the build, which I don't believe I've ever done before. I know that sounds really insane, like I've never actually built a garage in a house. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that, but I tend to just steer away from that just because I find them quite daunting. So with this particular house I wanted that space to be like a skill building room where mum can create bouquets if she wanted to. She can do some gardening, she can build upon her current skills, because I believe with the 100 baby challenge the mum cannot have like a regular job. She has to generate income from skill building activities such as like creating bouquets or like working from home and things like that. So with this particular build I definitely wanted to have as much for your Sims to do as possible within the house. So you will see that when we get onto the interior. But the exterior is coming together. I had pretty much nailed what I wanted to do with this particular house. I wanted it to look quite cartoony, quite dreamy, and just the embodiment of like a perfect 100 baby challenge home. So I'm hoping we achieve that with this. These arched windows are from the industrial loft kit. So if you do not have that kit, then I recommend using the base game ones, which are, I believe, slightly more harsh than these ones. These are a lot more soft. So I do prefer these to the base game ones, but if you don't have that kit, then they're the ones that I would recommend you use. If you do have the kit, then no problem at all. But these, I haven't actually used them on a build before, so it was really, really nice to be able to utilize them. So I'm really, really happy with that. And just do my usual with the landscaping, pulling out my favorite debug items from Get Together. If you are returning to the channel, these are my go-to trees. They're my go-to bushes I'm pulling out right now. I use these in 99.9% of my builds if they are not pack restricted. I love the debug menu from Get Together so much. I think it just works so well with so many builds, and I love it. Along with the cottage living as well, debug. And I have talked before about potentially getting is it the Better Build By mod? I'm not sure, where you can like duplicate the debug items and then like filter through. I think I would definitely benefit from that, so I am looking at potentially downloading that in the near future, but we shall see. Anyway, the house is pretty much looking as you saw at the start of the video, so we had pretty much nailed the style at this point. I'm just adding some detailing to the exterior to give it that RachelPedd flavour, I suppose you could say. If I'm allowed to say that, I'm not entirely sure whether I have my own flavour as such, but I'm just sort of adding the bits that I would like usually add to my other builds, and so this is what we ended up coming up with. And I was definitely inspired by probably one of my closest friends, Miss Simrino. Sorry. Miss Simrino, how did I mess that up? AKA April. She very recently did a 100 baby challenge build, and I've seen a few simmers do 100 baby challenge builds, and it definitely inspired me to do the same thing. The last speed build that I did, which I will link up in the top right hand corner for you now if you haven't seen it already, was a Dream Generations home, and I think that was like the stepping stone for me to do the 100 baby challenge home. I have done an apartment in the past, which I'm not going to link for you because I did it that long ago, and like my style has changed so much since then, so I'll potentially, if anyone would like me to do an apartment for the 100 baby challenge, I will absolutely do that. That's not a problem at all, so please let me know if that would be something that you'd be interested in. But for now, we've done an entire house. It's quite expensive. I want to say it's definitely over 150,000 simoleons, if my memory is serving me correctly. I have just uploaded this to the gallery. So, I remember when I uploaded it, I was like, oh, that's more expensive than I had anticipated. But it is what it is. I didn't hold back. What can I say? I just wanted it to give it so much character and life, and I wanted it to be just full of colour and laughter, and I just wanted it to be a certain way, and I definitely didn't hold back on the expenditure, as you can probably tell from the actual cost of the build. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So we are currently working on the landscaping of the front of the build. Now, I believe the entire exterior, including the back garden, took me just over an hour, which I didn't think was too bad, actually, when you consider like the landscaping and everything else in the back garden. Just over an hour, and then the interior was definitely the part that took me the longest. I actually started this morning. It's currently 10 p.m. on Saturday evening. I am going to put this up tomorrow instead of this evening because I am going to see my gran, and I'm going out for lunch with my sister tomorrow afternoon. So I just wanted to get the voiceover done and everything sorted and in situ before I came home tomorrow, because then I'm also playing games with Reese and April tomorrow evening. So I kind of wanted to like try and fit this in between me like doing things this weekend. Usually my weekends are totally free, and I use them just to totally de-stress and chill out from work, because this week in particular, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but there's been some bad there's been some bad juju in the air this week, for me anyway. Please let me know if you've had the same experience this week. Work has just been insane. 2 out of the 5 days I was extremely late for work because of just insane traffic. When I get to work, I have a 35-minute drive without traffic, which is about 25 miles. On one of the mornings, it took me nearly an hour and 45 minutes to get to work. The following morning, Wednesday morning, it took me I want to say an hour and a half to get to work. And then when I have been at work, it's just been crazy. So I wanted to spend this weekend just chilling out, but family is also extremely important. So that's why I'm uploading on a Sunday instead of a Saturday evening, which is usually my go-to day. It's either Friday or Saturday evening, but this week it will be the Sunday. So I hope you guys don't mind that. I'm sure you won't. Anyway, this is the back garden. As I've been going off on a bit of a ramble, this is the back garden of the build. I wanted to make this incredibly fun and youthful and bright and just like a place for the kids to play. So with this particular house, I catered for every single life stage in The Sims. So obviously we've got Mum. So Mum has her own bedroom with ensuite. I put a toddler room on the ground floor with 2 toddler beds because I know toddlers going up and down the stairs, it's just a nightmare. At least that's what I have heard in sort of the community. So I decided to put the toddler bedroom downstairs. So it has 2 toddler beds in. On the upper floor we have, I believe, a twin children/teens room. We have a single children's room, and then we have 2 double bedrooms which are catered for slightly older kids, maybe teens or children that are about to age up into teens. I didn't include a nursery for babies themselves. My general consensus, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that people don't tend to keep babies for very long. They tend to just age them up into toddlers, hence the reason for me using a toddler room instead of a nursery. But if that's a problem, then please feel free to put in some bassinets instead of the toddler beds, and I do apologise. I wanted to try and just cover as much basis as I possibly could, and then I realised I didn't want to put the nursery on the upper floor when Mum was on the ground floor, so it didn't really make much sense. Anyway, we are onto the interior of the house. The floor plan took me about 4 attempts to try and figure something out. So this is my 4th attempt at the floor plan. It's not the most eloquent in the world. I have started including my floor plans at the end of my videos so that you can see exactly what's going on if you wanted to try and replicate this build, or if you wanted to try and use it as some sort of inspiration. I understand that you guys might want to do that, so I thought that might be quite helpful for me to start using my floor plan screenshots at the end of builds, so I will definitely start doing that more and more and more. I did it with my last build and the feedback was generally very positive, so I hope that this is exactly the same thing. So we ended up having to change some of the windows around in this house because when I got into the interior and I realised that I wanted to use this as the kitchen, the arched windows just weren't going to work. So I ended up swapping them out for these base game windows, which I believe work a lot better. The kitchen is hands down one of my favourite rooms of the build, along with the room that's just attached to it here. That is what I call like the informal playroom, which I will show you just after this room here. But this is definitely my favourite room of the build. The kitchen, I wanted it to be really homey and kind of cartoony again. I just wanted it to be really bright and fun and colourful, and because I understand I haven't actually played the 100 Baby Challenge myself. I would just like to point that out right now, but I can understand that it's quite a stressful challenge. So to alleviate some of that stress, I definitely wanted to try and make this house like a calm but fun oasis for your Sims to be in. I tried to include as many activities as possible so that the toddlers, the children, the teenagers can go off and do their own thing, and Mum doesn't have to worry too much about them while they're on the lot. She can go into her bedroom, take a nap if she needs to. She can go into the garage and play some ping pong. She can go into the swimming pool and have a swim, whatever she needs to do to just get away from the chaos. And then the kids can be self-entertained. That is definitely sort of the vibe that I wanted to get with this house. So you will see there's a lot of activities for your Sims to do in this house, which was very, very important to me. The kitchen is coming together. I had pretty much nailed the colour scheme at this point. Again, I wanted it to be colourful. There's a lot of pinks and blues and yellows and creams in this house with hints of, it's just really, really youthful. It's really, really fun. It's definitely the kind of house that I would want to play in if I was playing this challenge, because as I said, it's a very stressful challenge. So I think sometimes with the environment that you're playing in, that makes all the difference in the world. Now, I understand that you'd potentially have to be at a certain point in your challenge to be able to move into this house because it is so expensive. But please feel free to download it, maybe gut the entire interior and just make it what you need to make it. I'd love to see what you can do. So please feel free to send me a message on Twitter, on Instagram, on Tumblr, whatever you need to do. I love, and I talk about this all the time, when you guys send me messages and say, Rachel, I've used this build, I love it so much, here's the family that I've moved in, this is what I've done to it. I live for that. I absolutely love it. So please feel free to do that. I will link my, well, as always, my social medias will be linked in the description box below. I am RachelPedd across all platforms now, so it's really, really easy to find me. Anyway, now we've moved on to the kind of like dining room portion of the kitchen. There is a separate dining room as well, because obviously this is a house for up to 8 Sims. As you can see, only 6 Sims can actually sit down and eat here. So I figured it would be good to have a separate dining room as well, although I understand potentially you're going to have maybe 2-3 toddlers as well at the same time. They can't sit at the table. I didn't include any high chairs because I know there's a big hoo-ha at the mimit. At the mimit? What's a mimit? What's a mimit? There's a big hoo-ha at the minute with an N, a minute. With putting toddlers in high chairs and then your Sims just immediately taking them out. So I didn't include any high chairs in this build. If you find high chairs useful, please, I did it again, please with an L, please feel free to add some high chairs to help you out. I just decided not to do it because the general consensus is that there's a problem with them, so I decided to just not include them. There is a main downstairs bathroom on this floor, which I included 2 toddler potties as well, which I thought would be quite helpful. Again, I put the toddler room on the ground floor because toddlers going up and down the stairs, from what I understand, isn't just a nightmare, so I decided to keep them on the ground floor. I hope that's helpful. My heart was in the right place when I decided to do it, so hopefully it's very, very helpful. So here we are, we're just adding some of the debug stickers from Parenthood onto the fridge just to make the house look a little bit more lived in. I love these stickers so much. Whenever I do like a family oriented build, I was just about to say I always use these. That is not entirely true. I think the last time I used these was when I did my like young couple and 3 children's apartment or whatever it was. I'll link it up in the right hand corner for you now. But I think that's the last time I used these. Anyway, now we've moved on to the playroom. There is a TV in here, there's a sofa, there's a couple of chairs. It's just a place for the kids to be able to chill out while mum's cooking tea or like whatever. It's just a totally separate area. They can make a bit of a mess if they want to. Mum doesn't really necessarily care about this room in the house. It's just it's the area that the kids can go to and make a bit of a mess. So I really hope this room is useful to some of you. I just figured with it being a 100 baby home, I figured a playroom would be helpful, especially off the kitchen as well, because then at least mum could keep an eye on the kids. But as you can see in the back garden, we've got a sand pit, and then I just end up pulling out like a slide and the plastic tree house, just so that your toddlers and children have got a couple of activities. Wow, what is going on? Just so they've got a couple of activities to do in the garden as well. That was really important to me. My last speed build didn't have much of a back garden, so I definitely wanted to make sure that this house had a half decent back garden, at least with some activities for your Sims to enjoy. So we are just finishing up the playroom here, and then I believe I do the hallways off camera, because who wants to see me decorate a hallway? Nobody. It's literally me adding some rugs, some wall lights, a plant here and there, and then a chair, and then maybe a lamp. So I didn't really think you guys would benefit from that. And then also, I didn't want the speed build to be too long either, because I believe my last speed build, I'm just having a look now, was around 41 minutes long. I didn't want this one to be quite as long. I think it's just over half an hour, which I think is a little bit more palatable. Anyway, this is the living room. I do really like the living room as well. Again, keeping this really cute, pastel-y, colourful sort of colour scheme coming through to this room as well. And using these base game sofas from the Ignore Hidden Objects, or the bb.ignore gameplay unlocks entitlement. cheat. I don't know. I think that's what they're from. In this cream swatch, I really like these. It feels like it's been a long time since I used them. I can't remember the last time I used these. I'm sure someone will remember. It feels like it's been a long time for me anyway. So again, keeping up with this like pastel color scheme and just keeping everything very fresh and just colorful and kind of cluttered, but not overdoing it, because again, like I said at the start, I wanted it to be slightly more gameplay friendly with this particular house. Given that we did it for the 100 baby challenge, I definitely wanted to hold back slightly on the clutter. So you'll have to let me know if you've seen a difference between like this house and then the house I've just built, or like any other house that I've done, because we all know I love clutter. I love making houses look lived in, and I think I still achieve that with this, even though I definitely toned it down. So we end up separating this room off, like, because at the minute it's a very, very large room and I didn't know what else to do with the space, so I ended up putting up a wall and then turning the other room into a separate dining room, which is what I referred to at the start of the video. So I think that's really, really helpful. Again, I didn't really know what else I could have done with that space. The house is a very, very, very difficult shape. For some reason, I love doing like these very wide but not very deep houses, so they end up being very, very, very wide but not very deep, so it does present quite a challenge when I'm trying to work out the floor plan. And upstairs, I struggled so much. I can't wait to show you the upstairs because I thought I did really, really well with it actually. Anyway, I'm ranting on about the upstairs and we're still working on the downstairs. So the living room's pretty much done. I did end up putting like this little area here with a bookshelf and just like a kid's chair so that the kids can have their own space if they want to read a book before bed or whatever they want to do. And then on the room on the left, which is just here, we end up turning it into a really simple dining room because I didn't really know what else to do with the space. So this is what we end up doing here. I think it looks really, really nice. I didn't have a problem with the sim going through during play testing, so you'll have to let me know, please, if you have any issues. I know it's difficult with routing because I know in some people's games it can be fine and then in other people's games it's a problem. So please let me know if you have any problems, and I'm so sorry if you do. I did play test this and I had no problems with my sim coming in and out of this room. So hopefully that will be the same for you all. But not much going on in that room, and now we are moving on to Mum's room. So this is the master bedroom, and as you can see there's an ensuite just to the right hand side as well. It's quite small, but it's big enough to fit in what I needed to fit in, if that makes sense. So, sorry, and I do apologise. I just kicked my new drawers that I've just put in under my desk, and I'm just getting used to where they are. So I do apologise if you ended up hearing that. I'm so sorry. Mum's room is definitely supposed to be just like a calm, tranquil space, a space where she can sort of escape to when she's not really wanting to face the kids. We've all been there. If you're a parent, I'm not a parent, but I'm just trying to, like, you know, sympathize. I'm sure we've all been there. Doesn't make you a bad person, it just means you need some time for yourself. So that is definitely what I wanted Mum to have in this house. As I said, there's plenty of activities for the kids to be cracking on with while Mum's having a nap, or 10 after a glass of wine, so she can cope. Anyway, as I said, not too much going on in this room, and then we do move on to the twin toddler room. Again, I put these twins, I say twins, I mean, it doesn't have to be for twins, it could be for just toddlers that were born quite, you know, soon apart. That doesn't even make sense, you know what I mean. It doesn't necessarily need to be for twins. I tried to keep the bedrooms as gender neutral as possible as well, so I didn't necessarily have a specific gender in mind for any of the bedrooms, just because with an 8 sim household it's so difficult to try and like nail every single sim that you guys might have. So I tried to keep things as gender neutral as possible. This is a really, really big room. I wanted the toddlers to have as much room as possible to just like potter around and have room to like play with one another and just play with the items in the room as well, so that, as I said, if mum's wanting to do something else, she doesn't need to necessarily worry about what they're doing because they're just cracking on with something else. So there's a toy box in here, there's a chair, there's 2 beds, there's a bookcase, so mum can read them a bedtime story if they would like. There's some potties in here as well as I said, in the downstairs bathroom as well, which I just think is really handy. I don't think you can have too many of these lying around, especially in a 100 baby challenge because I'm not entirely sure how the challenge works, but I think you have to try and raise each child to the best of your ability, and that includes like potty training them, teaching them how to talk, how to walk and things like that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I would love to learn more about the challenge. With me being not so much a game player, it definitely fascinates me, and learning more about gameplay definitely allows me to create more immersive houses as well. So I definitely tried to, with this house, just tick as many boxes as possible. So please let me know if you are playing the challenge and if you do decide to download this house, because it would just make my day if you did. So now we've moved on to this is the downstairs main bathroom. Now there are 2 bathrooms on the ground floor. There's this one, and then there's mum's ensuite. Obviously the kids are more than welcome to use mum's ensuite, but I don't see why they would need to, because there are 2 further bathrooms upstairs. There's also a washing machine and a dryer in the kitchen. I don't know if I mentioned that at the start. I don't think I did, because I think I was probably rambling on about something else. But there's also a washing machine and a dryer in the kitchen as well. I did remember at the end of the build, not on camera, but I added a laundry basket to every single bedroom, so when your Sims get changed, they're not going to be leaving piles of dirty clothing everywhere. I'm so sorry. If I ever add a washing machine and a dryer to a build, I normally forget to add a laundry basket, and it winds me up every time, because I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Why do I do this to you? It's not even to myself, because I'm not playing in these houses. Why do I do this to the people that I care about? Like, what on earth? Anyway, this is the garage. This is basically just like a skill building room where mum can just probably escape to, and she could even lock the doors for the kids if she wanted to, if she just wanted to just escape them entirely. Ping pong table, running machine, punching bag, there's a bicycle in here as well, there's a flower arranging table, and then I think a woodworking table as well. Again, trying to add as many skill building items as I can, because remember, mum has to stay at home and generate the income from any jobs that she does at home. So the only thing I didn't include in this build was a computer. I don't think I put a computer anywhere here. You might want to add a computer somewhere, maybe to the dining room table somewhere, because if she wants to be an author or something like that, then that would be really handy too. I can't believe I didn't include one. What was I thinking? Anyway, this is the upper floor. The upper floor definitely didn't take me as long as the ground floor to try and work out the floor plan for. However, it's slightly ineloquent, and it's only ineloquent because of this very teeny tiny little hallway, this skinny little one that you can see just bang in the middle here. Now, it's because these stairs are located to the left hand side of the build instead of the center. Usually my builds have the staircase in the center. These ones are slightly offset to the left, so the entire floor plan for the upstairs was slightly thrown off, although I do think it works quite well. I think we made the best out of I don't want to say bad situation, but not a great situation. So this room I envisioned was for either 2 children or 2 teens. It doesn't really matter, like whatever dynamic you've got going on for the 100 baby challenge, I'm not entirely sure, but we cover, as I said, every single life stage apart from babies. Now, again, I apologize if I did that, if I've done something wrong there. But the general consensus from my end is that people aren't very impressed with babies and don't tend to play with them very often, and tend to age them up into toddlers, which is why we went straight for the toddler room and didn't include a bassinet. Anyway, this room is very pinky. No, it's not pink. What am I talking about? It's very bluey purpley. Again, not aiming it towards any particular gender, because I want to try and keep things as gender neutral as possible within this particular house. I think you guys would have appreciated that, because I don't know, you might have a mum with 7 boys, you might have a mum with 7 girls, you might have a mum with 3 boys and 4 girls. I don't know what's going on. So I just figured if I kept everything as gender neutral as possible, then I would cover a wide variety of circumstances. So this room is really colourful. Again, it's very large, which is fantastic for gameplay. Again, not too much going on in terms of clutter. I could have cluttered the heck out of that wall behind the beds, just as I did in my previous speed build, which I realised when I was taking the screenshots, I was like, Rachel, that is so not the way to go. That looks crap. So I decided with this house to tone it way back. It's a twofold thing. First of all, to prove to myself that I could do it, and second of all, to make it more gameplay friendly for everybody. So I'm hoping we achieved that with this one. I'm thinking we did. So just adding some final touches to this room. I really do like this room. It's not my favorite bedroom of the build, although I do really like it. I can't tell you the last time I used the swatch of those beds. It's so pretty with like the blue and white clouds. I just think it looks really nice. In this particular room, we end up going for like a dark brown and like a dusky purple sort of colour, and it kind of originated. Initially I was going to go for like this powder blue colour, and I thought, I'm getting kind of bored of this colour scheme, so let's mix things up. Excuse me, let's mix things up. And so that's what I decided to do with this particular room. Again, it could be for a child that's about to age into a teenager. That's what I had in my head. I don't know with the 100 baby challenge when the kids move out. I want to say it's when they hit young adult. So maybe like these two rooms would be perfect for Sims that are either teens or young adults. It depends, like I said, entirely on the dynamic of the family that you have moving in here. But this room is on the other side is exactly the same size as the purple and dark brown room. But with this one, I made it like more black, white and blue, just to bring in a slightly different colour scheme. So I actually really like this room, to be fair. I can definitely imagine a teenager being in this room, 100%, if not a young adult. But again, just let me know what kind of sim you've moved in here, because again, dynamics will be completely different. But just adding a little bit of clutter on the walls and just making sure that everything looks cohesive with the rest of the build. And then we move on to the single children's room. Again, no gender in mind, but definitely probably leaning more towards a child sim. But this is the last room, so I will wrap up. You can breathe a sigh of relief. But you can grab this house from the gallery right now. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box below. You can get them for free from Sim File Share. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining me here today. Today. You all take care, and I will see you next time I post a video. Bye!